Good morning. My name is John Buckley, President of Blue River Analytics. Welcome to our latest Blue River Analytics webinar series. Today, we will feature Spotfire and IHS data, the acquisition template, and Well Data Conduit. Before we get started, a few housekeeping items. All of your phones have been muted. If you would like to ask a question, please use the question and answer or chat feature in WebEx, and we will do our very best to address your question at the end. Let's get started. Joining us today is Jeter Thomas, CFO of Caerus Oil and Gas, Charlie Strickler, President of Conduit Resources, and Mindy Stone, Director of Training and Delivery at Blue River Analytics. Mr. Thomas has been the CFO at Caerus Oil and Gas since 2011. He joined Caerus as the company's first hired employee in charge of business development in January 2010. Prior to that, Mr. Thomas served as Senior Business Development Engineer for Puckett Land Company, a private company engaged in the acquisition, development, and production of natural gas in the Piceance Basin of western Colorado. Prior to that, Mr. Thomas was a member of Chevron's MBA Finance Development Program. He also spent 4 years with Forest Oil Corporation in various engineering capacities. Mr. Thomas holds a Bachelor of Science in Engineering degree in System Sciences from the University of Pennsylvania and earned honors of high distinction from the Stephen M. Ross School of Business at the University of Michigan, where he obtained his Master of Business Administration degree. Charlie Strickler received a BS degree in geology from Southern Oregon University and completed a master's in GIS and data management at the University of Denver. For the past 4 years, he is focused on constructing an industry-leading geospatial data management system for Forest Oil Corporation, providing real-time vendor and internal data through a web mapping application and GG&E standard applications. Prior experience involves over 6 years of operational experience with Encana, working primarily in the greater Green River Basin and Wind River Basin of Wyoming. Prior to oil and gas, he held such distinguished titles as Water Master and Stream Walker, where he measured stream discharge and enforced senior water rights for the Oregon Water Resource Development. Mindy Stone. Prior to founding Blue River Analytics, Mindy was a senior Spotfire solutions architect for Forest Oil. Mindy has over 4 years in the oil and gas industry and started her career in reservoir engineering before switching over to IT. While at Forest, she took Spotfire from a departmental tool to a corporate analytics platform and developed applications for users in reservoir engineering, geology, production engineering, and drilling. Most of her current work includes data discovery and predictive analytics for cost and production data. Mindy holds degrees from the University of Denver in biology, chemistry, and statistics. She is currently enrolled in a Master's of Computer Information Systems with concentrations in business intelligence and database management. So with that being said, let's get started. Jeter, over to you.
Thanks, John. Pleasure to be here today. No need to reintroduce myself. You did a great job. Thanks for doing that. I would like to spend just a quick second on Caerus Oil and Gas. Caerus Oil and Gas is a private equity-funded exploration and production company primarily focused on acquiring and exploiting natural gas resources in the Rocky Mountain regions of North America. We've also recently been recapitalized by our private equity sponsors to acquire more properties, this time focused more on liquids-rich natural gas and oil, given the price plunge we experienced approximately a year ago. We're backed by subsidiaries of Oak Tree Capital Management in Los Angeles and Anschutz Investment Company here in Denver, Colorado. So, as I mentioned, Caerus has a bent on acquisitions. It's a core focus of our business. We've done a number of transactions in the 5 years that we've been here and continue now, especially with the provided equity that we have backing us again. to look for more acquisition opportunities, and that is sort of the business issue that led us to Charlie's team at Conduit and to the Blue River team. And really the business issue that we were trying to solve is how to quickly and efficiently use public production data to analyze acquisition opportunities within basins in the lower 48. And as we were looking at these acquisitions, and even as we were getting to a point where we would be putting a bid together, we would need to take our investors through an analysis of public data, non-biased, and in an easy and transparent format. And we were using, static versions of IHS data and trying to create templates and show people, the IPs that had been experienced historically versus what our IP assumptions would be for future drilling, those type of things. And it quickly, we quickly learned that we needed a better tool to convey this information to our investors. So we started working with Conduit and Charlie's team, and we had a relationship that went back to my days at Forest Oil. And what they provided was a way for us to locally store all of our subscribed data. In this instance, it's IHS data, so that we had it at our fingertips and easy to manipulate at a moment's notice, query, and constantly have it updated, nightly, so that we didn't have to spend, time with our techs and our other professionals downloading information from websites. And the other thing is the data that they provide is cleaner and in a much better, format. They have some intelligence around data analytics and what they've done to kind of store the data that helps us as well. So it's been a great solution for us. And on top of that, we put Spotfire, and the Blue River team helped us build a template. The purpose of this template is so that we can identify, let's say we have a target acquisition, or we hear rumblings that someone is going to sell an asset, or we look and through our analysis financially recognize that there are a number of distressed oil and gas companies who may need to sell an asset. How can we identify what they own, where they own it, the production, their drilling results, their single well economics, all of those things in a quick and easy fashion, so that we're not spending hours and hours on each individual prospect or target, but that we can do it within minutes. And that is really what this template that Mindy is going to walk through today was developed for. That's how I use it here at Caerus Oil and Gas. And, to date, it's been a very, very powerful tool for us. And I agreed to just get on and give a plug for this solution just simply because of the value added it's had for me. So with that, I'll turn it over to Charlie and let him talk a little bit about Conduit and what they do. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeter. I appreciate it. Intro. I'm Strickler with Conduit Resources, and we really focus on the database and the vendor data management. We've formed, obviously, a very strategic and valuable partnership with Blue River. They take our data that we do far past levels that we have done. Spotfire is a fantastic tool for our products. So I'm going to walk you guys through just kind of what our solution is, and I do want to mention that this is kind of a holistic solution with the Conduit and Blue River analytics on top of it. So with that, kind of want to just walk you through our solution here. So what we've done, and I don't think this is a unique problem in the industry that we constructed at Forest Oil, but what it seems like is that most oil and gas companies have difficulty accessing and doing proper analytics on their data from their different third-party and vendor solutions. So what we've done is built a series of advanced data connectors, which you'll see here, that takes third-party data. Our first primary target was IHS. We've done a very good job bringing down their information on a nightly basis. We've now switched gears and are moving into the drilling info realm, which we have a product for that now, as well as Tobin, RexTag, and rig data. So what we've done is build these series of advanced data connectors. We pull those down daily, weekly, monthly, depending on the data source that you guys are subscribing to. Each one has a little bit different way of downloading and things like that, which is where the value comes in. We do store all that in a SQL Server environment. It's spatialized, so we have the geography and geometry columns and such that allow you direct mapping into things like Spotfire and other tools. From there, we basically have two different avenues to get at that information. The first one is a proprietary product by Conduit called Well Finder. What that does is give you a very clean, neat look at the data. It does not replace Spotfire. It's not an analytics tool. This is a quick look at the data, way to export that information and use that in other applications. You can look at production in there, and I'll show you a few slides on that towards the end. What we do encourage is this idea of direct SQL Server access. So now that you have this live local replica database on your system for your variety of different data sources, now you can really integrate those data sources. You can build these SQL views sitting on top. You can build views within Spotfire. So once you have that local data, you can build these connections into Spotfire. And I will say that Spotfire, by far, of all the applications we've dealt with, is the primary one that has the best access. You get in there, you can do views within Spotfire, you set up your data links, and I'm not going to steal Mindy's thunder, so I'll leave it at that, but it's a great way to get at our data. It is multi-user, so anyone can get at Well Finder. There are no restrictions on people as far as how many users can access our system. The idea here is that historically you've had, very few people that have access to Interdeck, and it's always a problem to go pull data. Well, now your whole company, land, engineering, geology, field, et cetera, A&D, which I, lump into land and geology and such, everyone at your company now has access to this data locally through tools, and you no longer have to go out and grab data. You can answer questions in minutes instead of days. So with that being said, I'll kind of walk through a couple more things here. Just kind of showing you guys what kind of data types Conduit supports and offers. So state websites, which I'll show you through our Well Finder application. We do have live connections to the state sites. We deal with wells, production, leases, midstream with RexTag and Divesco and such, seismic information through MJ and Seisco, well logs, and different facets of the oil and gas industry as far as data is concerned. You can see the different types of data sources that we connect into, and as we go along, there's certain unique data sets people have asked us about that we can incorporate as well. So this is a platform, this is a buffet, as you will, that allows you, whatever data sources you have will be incorporated into that platform. Just a real quick, IHS is the focus of today. It's obviously our most robust product that we have. That's 4 or 5 years in the making that we've developed this thing. And there's quite a few tables. We've got about 30 or 40 tables we bring down. There's about 1,500 data fields that we acquire, bring down, normalize, structure, and give to you in a very clean format for use within your analytics applications. The big ones being all the test and treatment data, proppants, fluids, and such. We roll that all into a treatment abstract table. With that, we use directional surveys, which you'll find here. We calculate lateral lengths, we calculate stages, and this is all provided to you on a nightly basis for the wells that have those values available. So we do quite a bit, as Jeter mentioned, additional logic onto the data to give you these clean data sets. We don't think of ourselves as an analytics company. We think of ourselves as a database and BI company that's giving you this information, which is why the partnership with Blue River has gone well. All the core information, all the DSTs for the engineers and such. We also calculate out a locations table. This is very important for IHS. They have, there's over 7 different locational data types, Texas, township range section, Northeast, Ohio, offshore, onshore. We calculate all those out into a very clean table. It gives you guys a very useful tool to be able to search based on locational information. This is a land person's dream, this tool. So great opportunities here within this data structure, and there's about 10 or 15 tables not listed that are kind of subordinates. The schema for production is very straightforward. It's very narrow, right? A lot of production data. We want to make this high-performing and fast. So what we've done is keep this very narrow. We carry all the attributes across. You don't miss anything from your IHS and Joint Info subscriptions. What we do is we bring in the production headers. Everything ties to it. These are all foreign key, primary key related. All the data types are correct. The big table here, monthly production, that's about 500 million records for the whole country if you subscribe to them. We also construct a production abstract table that's going to have your first 3 months and such for oil, liquid, water, your last 12 months, your last year, all those kind of rolled up values. We provide additional logic as well for calculating things like actual production start date. So when you do like a first 6 months study on a well's production, we don't calculate those first couple months that are nulls or zeros, which is what you'll get if you use production start date. So we do a few calculations like that to help you along the way. Stepping back one, in the treatment abstracts, we also normalize things like proppants and fluids. So tons and pounds, we normalize all out to pounds. Gallons and barrels, we normalize all out to gallons. And, you know, not necessarily, you know, rocket science there, but the idea is it's a very clean data set for you guys to hit, and you guys don't have to do that anymore. So let me walk through the well finder. That's kind of our database structure, right? And you've got the SQL server sitting there. You've got the loaders that load that. Well, when we first built this thing out, we realized that not everyone has the ability to quickly throw this into something like Spotfire or you know, ArcGIS and things like that. So what we did is construct a front-end utility that lets you look at the data, export the information, and build some saved lists and such. So as you'll see here, you know, you can identify information, you can explore that within our tool, and then you can export that information. I'll walk through this pretty quick. Here's our front-end utility, lots of different ways to search on information. You know, we also track like database changes, so permits, spuds, completions, new production, a well that comes on production. We track those so that you can quickly identify those within Spotfire or other tools to let you know what kind of activity is going on, you know, perfect for the acquisition template and such. We have some mapping enabled, so you can search based on a map area. Once you do your query, you get a series of results, and from there you get the ability to go into all these different detail pages, basically. So the state website, production history, and I'll show you guys those pieces. You can also export information. Obviously, exports to Spotfire very well. If you're using Spotfire, you might consider just going direct SQL access to it, which is what we would prefer and what like the acquisition template does for you. You can build your own custom formats. So very simple, easy to do. You can add in your own custom formats like Jeter's export or something like that. And then you have, you can build lists off of this as well and create lists that you can save throughout the company to bring up kind of saved queries. Grouping, you can group by operator and things. Some of the, you know, finer details of the product that I'm not going to show today. So what do you get? You get a series of different modules that lets you analyze this information. I say analyze, it's more of a look and a understanding of the data, and then you're going to want to export that to your GG app. So we're not trying to compete with Spotfire, Petra, Petrel, anything like that. You can get it all on a map, you look at it, explore it. Directional surveys we're doing, we're going to be rolling out wellbore diagrams now that we have the treatment data and the treatment abstracts table built. Here's access to the state site, which I'll show you in more detail, and obviously the production history. So you can go in there and just select through. Very, very clean look at production data, right? So a land person or an engineer wants to go to a well and look up and see what kind of production's for that well. Maybe it just came online. What are the first values for it? It also does logarithmic for that. Directional surveys, it does measure depth, and it shows you kind of the look and feel of the well, and then you can export that information. And then here's the state module. This is kind of the newest one, or not the newest one we have, but something that's caught a lot of attraction in the industry. What we've done is basically build structured access points to all the state sites, including things like North Dakota that have a subscription. That all gets built into our tech database and lets you look at this information on the fly. So now you can search for a well, and just like I've done in the industry and like a lot of you guys do, you know, you don't necessarily trust the IHS data or the drilling info data, and you want to check the state site against that. So now we've given you that tool, so once you're in that application, you see that, you know, the production that IHS has given, or the bottom hole or something like depth or something like that, or the Kelly bushing depth. Now you can actually go into the state site and compare that. And what you'll notice is you get a series of buttons for each state site, all structured access points for it, and we keep track of those, we keep up with those as state sites change, and that basically gives you kind of that unique look into the data. As you can see down here, this is Colorado, this is Montana, gives you great production data, and there are times we check something like that and it's IHS hasn't picked it up yet and we've got production. So I believe that's it for me. So thank you guys very much, and I'll pass it over to Mindy Stone.
All right. Thanks, Charlie. Hello, everybody. Thank you for attending our webinar today. I am going to jump over now to the live demo of the acquisition template. So as Jeter mentioned, this was built to answer kind of very quickly questions that might come up when you're looking into an acquisition. Things like, what does my well count look like over time? What did the well's IP at? What are my normalized data to lateral lengths? And also, how does a certain operator compare to other operators in the basin that we're looking, or the asset that we're looking into? To get started today, we're going to look at the DJ Basin, and there's two parts of this template. One is just getting a feel for that basin that we want to look at, kind of getting the structure, some average productions, peak production information, and then also comparing an operator to other operators within that basin that we're looking at. So to start here, I have selected the DJ Basin, and quickly I can get a list of well counts for all the operators that have operated in that basin. So I'll go ahead and sort here. We can see in the operator some of the top well counts from Noble, Anadarko, Bonanza Creek, and EOG, and we can see them on a map. We also have the ability to color by on the map different variables. So we have basin name, state name, county name, and we've also binned some peak data. So we can throw some production in and see that the orange is kind of going to be the highest IP peak gas. We can see it sitting kind of right there in the middle of the basin. So we can build a bubble map that we want on this main page, and this is also going to be the selection page. So you can leave it filtered and it will populate all the tabs, or you can mark a section of the basin that you're interested in, and that will populate the tabs with that selection as well. So now I'm going to move over to the production and well count tab. This tab here is one tab that will answer a bunch of questions. Right now what I'm looking at is by operator, what is my total gas? So this is a total, this isn't an average. So again, we see some of the big players, the big well counts up here towards the top. And we can go through and change this visualization to answer those questions. We can move gas over to look at well count again, and right now we have it colored by the play that we're looking at. So we can quickly see the biggest play here is the Niobrara, followed by a Codell formation. Once we kind of have a feel for that, we can switch back over to production, and now we can move over and look at things like first production year to see when they were drilling the wells and how many things like how much production did they have and what was their well count over the years. So 2013, 2014, some of the biggest years. 2015, with IHS data, we're a couple months behind, so that number will potentially go up a good amount. We can also color by different parameters here. So if I want to see hole directions, so in the most recent months, obviously a bunch of horizontal wells, so we can get a feel for the hole direction. And then we can switch gears over to the plays to make sure we get a good feel for what formations are being drilled. So Niobrara, Codell, and then a combination of the two here. I'm going to switch this the color by from operator over to operator. There we go. So now within those different plays, what are our biggest operators? So we have Noble and Anadarko coming in here as well. So once we kind of get a feel for that, we can move through well count, look at total gas, so look at their actual total gas values as well, pretty similar there. So we can use this chart to look at a couple of different parameters. I'm going to jump over now to the normalized to lateral length tab. So here we are dividing it by the lateral length. I've gone ahead and filtered to one. It is divided by 1,000, so it is a 1,000-foot lateral. And with the IHS data, I wanted to make sure that we weren't getting any zeros or null values in there for lateral lengths, so that we have a really good understanding of how this looks. And this is average now for peak gas. So our operators will start to look a little bit different here towards the beginning. We have Anadarko, Great Western, and synergy up here. And right now we're looking at daily peak gas bilateral lengths by operator. And we can go ahead and change some of this. We can look at 12 months gas, so we can get the full year to see how that changes. And we can go ahead and change our operator over to play. So we have Codell, Fort Hays, actually. That bilateral length is going to be our highest formation. So we can take a look at those, and we can always click on these and see which wells down here below, which operators and their API numbers, and get some quick statistics on them. Lateral lengths, 12-month gas, so this is going to change as you change your y-axis, your daily rate, your lateral length by 1,000 foot, and the normalized production number here. So we can scroll through and look at which operators are in each of these plays. So here we have Anadarko and Encana. We could also come over here and color by operator and see these as well. And anything that we select on, we will get the detailed list below. So that kind of gives us a different feel here when we look at it bilateral lengths in normalized production. I'm going to jump over to the cross-plot tab. So the cross-plot tab here, I have well count, and I'm looking at, right now, median peak gas versus median peak liquid. And really what I want to do is I have one bubble per operator name here. So I can see the highest operator, Ward Petroleum. They are four wells. We can kind of get a feel of who sits on that line of best fit and our R-squared operators. Right now the aggregation is the median value of all of the wells that operator has drilled. We could also take the average of those values as well if we wanted to. I'm going to move over now and look at just 9-month production to switch it up a little bit here. 9-month gas versus 9-month liquid. Try to get a feel for which operators have both high gas values and high liquid values. And I'm going to color it by play. So now I can see, my highest play up here is Fort Hays for 9-month production. If I take the average of all of their wells, it's the Fort Hays, and we can see that the operator that sits in there is Anadarko. And we can look at some of these and click them and see which operators are in that certain formation by clicking on that bubble. And then another thing we could do is hop over here and look at that first prod date year. So this is interesting. 2014 sitting up top, so we can actually click on this and see which operators have not drilled in 2014. We can also go ahead and add 2015 in there. So now our white ones are going to be operators that haven't been drilling in the last 2 years but have drilled in the past. And so we can do kind of a couple different things with marking on this tab. These bubbles are sized by your lateral length and shaped by hole direction. So for the most part, they are all horizontals. The majority of them are horizontals. Some of them have directionals, though, as well. I'm going to hop over to the probability plot. So here's the probability plot. I'm going to go ahead and at any point you can continue to filter down through this template. If you've seen a couple operators that you're becoming more and more interested in, you can filter to those operator names. I'm going to go ahead and filter to horizontal wells here, but you could continue to filter down if you find interest in certain plays or certain operators as you're moving through this template. So here we have a probability plot. Down at the bottom, we have all of our p-values and our Swanson's mean, so P1 through P99 down below. Right now we're looking at 12-month gas colored by operator. And we can switch this over here to 24-month gas so I can see first 2 years of production, what does my plot look like. And I'm going to now color it by play here. And you could trellis these as well if you wanted to. If you want to see a trellis for each county or for even each year of production, you can trellis to look at that year's production or each individual county as well. So here is colored by play. And one thing we can do is highlight, some of our high production wells, but with low p-values here, and see, which they're all pretty similar. They're all your Niobrara plays here. We could go back over to operator and highlight them as well, and see which operators are in this area. So it looks like it's Noble and Anadarko. So we can look at a couple p-values in this plot as well. Over to production over time. So up top here is a visualization that just shows by operator what are our well counts over the last 3 years. So 2013, 14, and 15, and then what are the variances in those years. So right now I have it sorted coming from last year to this year. How many wells have they gone down in well count? So Noble has gone down 181 wells. Again, this isn't the entire 2015 year, so I also put in the variance of 13 to 14. But within the last year, 181, 167. So we can quickly see, who stopped drilling, how many wells have they stopped drilling, and maybe start digging into why they've stopped drilling those wells. And then the two plots below it, the top one is going to be our gas volumes, and the bottom one is our liquid volumes. So over time, right now, by operator, what do those look like? So we can see down here, Anadarko moves up and back down, so we have kind of this bell-shaped curve in the middle of 2014. We can come over here and change that over to play, and we can see, really quickly that just stands out, those two plays and the difference. So we can see earlier, 2010 through until about 2012, it was just the Niobrara, and the Codell started picking up in the middle of 2012 and has been on the rise since then. So we can look for different production trends based on different parameters here. And then the last tab that I'm going to go to is now when we're switching gears and going into that operator analysis. So, I've done this whole basin review, or I've heard on the streets, so-and-so company might be selling an asset in this DJ basin. Let's go quickly look at it. I want to know, some statistics. Is it even worth my time to look into this acquisition? So I've heard on the streets about ConocoPhillips and the DJ Basin, so I went ahead and selected them. And so automatically they will turn to this red color here, and everything else will go to this light blue color. So we can see on the map where they are located. We can actually highlight the wells just around them and drill into that area. So here we can see the well counts in that area. So they have 35 wells that have been drilled. Anadarko's near them with 160 wells. And then here we have average peak gas. So they are in the Niobrara, and they're, towards the middle there. And then same for IP, 30-day liquid. And then here we have our normalized lateral length as well. So we can, get a little bit smaller, maybe, into that region and get a really close look at, okay, they're in the Niobrara, and just keep expanding our search from there to try to compare them and their production to other players in the areas around them. And we can always, work backwards through the template and just filter on Conoco and get a better feel for them as well compared to certain operators that we see are operating near them. So we could go and filter to Conoco, Mindel, SWN, and Ward and do a little bit bigger of an analysis as we continue to drill in through the acquisition template. Okay. So as the acquisition template, I'm going to pass it back over to John.
Thank you, Mindy. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Jeter. Now is the time where we will be reviewing and answering questions. So if you have any questions, please type them in, and we will start churning through them.
Bart has a question from Discovery.
Okay.
Bart, here. Bart, do you have a question still for Charlie? I'm going to go ahead and type it on here, and then we'll go to the next one. What type of IHS?
Yeah, so the question is, what type of IHS subscription is required to enable the direct connection? Is going to be something on top of my additional interdex subscription? The answer is no. IHS, which is not standard with all data sources, provides a web services integration that's what we tie into. So no, there's no additional cost to you for your subscription. The next question, similar, do you still have to maintain your current subscriptions with IHS, DI, et cetera, to use the conduit? And the answer is yes. We don't funnel subscriptions through us. we use whatever entitlements you have to the data source, and our programs and loaders take whatever entitlements you have automatically and pull that information down.
All right, the next question is, will the DXP files be available? The recording of the DXP will be available on our website, www.blueriveranalytics.com, so you can go through it and take another look there. The template will also be available for purchase if you are interested in the DXP template. Does the log probit graph assume a log normal distribution? Yes, it does. Is there any predictive analysis being done? We can do predictive analysis on the template, kind of to your likings, what individual people like to see. Right now, it's more of an acquisition template of data discovery and what does this basin look like, and is it smart for me to continue my analysis into this asset or into this operator that I am interested in purchasing?
Okay, next question, does the conduit tool import GDS, GCS tops from IHS? I know it imports tops. I'm not sure it imports that specific series of tops, and I will check on that and can provide feedback to Blue River or another means to get that information back to you guys, specifically Carl or Sean. Oh, sorry. Good question here. How much space does the entire IHS data source require? On the physical space stored with it is about 150 gigabytes. We allocate a little bit more for your servers just to give some breathing room and backups and things like that. But and I said physical. These can be virtual machines that you guys, virtual servers that you guys stand up. I'll handle this question as well. Data structure, how to integrate to current data warehouse in-house. This is a very good question that we've seen with a lot of our first clients is how do you take the new vendor data warehouse you have and integrate that with internal data? A couple different mechanisms here. We suggest that you keep our raw data warehouse separated from integration into your other data sets. What we would have you do is take information from there and pull it in as a BI layer into your data warehouse, or we actually create a series of views on top of our database that is considered a BI views, and you can use those directly. I think with the technologies today, you don't necessarily need to integrate within the same database both your vendor and your internal data. We actually advise against that. The tools today let you integrate those very easily on top of the databases. Do you capture both the, another question, do you capture both the allocated and unallocated IHS production data? And do you capture and keep the production data reported under drilling permit number in Texas? The answer, yes, to allocated. We do not bring back the unallocated production data from IHS, otherwise known as lease level production. We do bring in the allocated, the well level, and the lease level for the entire country. And we do bring in the permit numbers for Texas. Next question, if for sale, have they approached IHS with this integration tool, considering it can reconcile difference between IHS and data sources on various state websites? I'm not sure I understand the question. I'm not reading it correctly.
Alex, we'll come back to your question.
That one for you. Go ahead.
Oh, yes. So the Spotfire consumer, given you have a lot of templates, are you moving them to Spotfire consumer? Yes, so if you have the consumer licenses, they will go to the consumer license. Every company is a little bit different on their licensing structure, but in general, templates can be used on any of the licensing.
I'm going to step back to that question about the integration tool and approaching IHS. Conduit is partners with IHS, and right now they are not allowing us. They are encouraging us to stay as a separate entity not trying to integrate them as like a tool package within their set suite of products. But they have started to recommend us to different clients and such, so I do believe they see the value in what we're doing and are encouraging us to do that. Next question, how long does it take to pull the IHS data using the conduit? Very good question. Basically, the data pull itself takes about a day or less for all the data IHS encompasses in its database, 30, 40 tables, 1,500 data fields, et cetera. It then takes about 6 days to load your internal system, your servers, and then after that, it's about an hour every night for a Delta update to your system, of which we don't miss any new data coming into the system. So, long story, it's about an hour a night, but it does take an install period of about a week.
And then when that comes to Spotfire and pulling the IHS data live from the replica database, using information links or connecting directly through that SQL connection, it's very quick. The data can be put into views in SQL, so you can pull however many columns you want from all of those 35, 40 data tables and get just the columns that you want. And it does work very quickly and pulls in massive amounts of millions and millions of rows into Spotfire very fast.
Next question, are you just compiling IHS data into SQL databases, or are you doing scrubbing to the data on top of what IHS does before it goes into your conduit SQL database? The answer to that is yes, we do some scrubbing. For the most part, and this is for both the clients and the data sources like IHS and Drilling Info that we support, is that we want to create almost an exact replica of the data so that when you guys have data questions and such, you guys feel comfortable going to IHS and asking about things as well as conduit. So we keep it almost the exact replica and database structure as what IHS and Drilling Info and such does. We do some scrubbing to clean up data types and things like normalizing pounds and tons to just pounds, calculating first production start dates, max IP, minimum casing size, things like that, lateral lengths. But for the most part, we're not doing like formation aliases or operator aliases or anything like that. Wood Mackenzie is not currently a data provider, but we do have them on our radar. It's on our list. We've heard a couple different clients or potential clients look at that. Okay, says it's a sideline question. As the data experts, any thoughts on why so much variation on early production data between DI and IHS algorithm differences? I think for the allocated states, you're probably right as far as the algorithm. We've taken a pretty hard look at DI and IHS production data, and we feel pretty confidently now that both have very good value in that. There is variation, but the variation, I think, goes by state even, so I think it's hard to quantify that for you. Next question, overlaying in-house production completion data over the IHS data. Yes, use Spotfire for that. I wouldn't overwrite the conduit tables. I would use something like Spotfire to create that integration tool, and that's exactly what people are doing with it. Does the conduit allow for editing and auditing of edits in the SQL database? We have one installation where we allow editing and such into the conduit database. For the most part, we recommend this be a read-only database. This is your vendor data, IHS, Drilling Info, Tobin. These guys are updating that and sending us new data, or sending you new data more specifically, and we don't recommend any editing of that. Creates quite a logistical nightmare. There's translation tables and such that we would recommend you put on top of the database to do any editing or modifications. Go ahead.
Yep. For operator name, do you group multiple names for the same company? So in Spotfire, for companies that have bought companies in the last year or two, and they haven't, or at any point, and they haven't changed in IHS, within the acquisition template, there is logic written in there as a transformation to pull purchased operators into the same operator name. So, for example, Kerr-McGee was part of that Anadarko group in the demo. Burlington was part of the ConocoPhillips group, and et cetera.
I'll speak to this one really quick. IHS can't fix data they know is wrong from a liability standpoint, correct? They pull state data just like IHS and Tobin and such. They claim you must get the state record changed, correct? A lot of cleanup remains to be done, yes. How do clients deal with storing and preserving their corrections? You know, people deal with this in Petra all the time and such, where they're updating it and then they lock the records so they don't get overwritten. There's translation tables that you can stick on top of our database that will allow you to create these corrections, and then when you go to that particular production entity or well API, then you can have those corrections be embedded within like your Spotfire project. So once again, we don't recommend changing the core tables. The technologies today with views and such allow you to do that very easily on pushing into your BI layer. Question, your server system is on-prem? Yes. Yes, it does. The question is, does the conduit actually make a copy of the IHS data? In essence, yes, it's a replica of the IHS data with additional tables and such constructed off of it. Does conduit QC the completions data to align units such as total proppant? Yes, pounds and tons to just pounds. We actually parse out the remarks field to pull in like mesh sizes and stuff. Can wells reported in tonnage be easily combined with wells reported in total pounds? The answer is yes. It could be done before with some manual intervention. Now it's done for you with the conduit product. Good question. The state data get downloaded, or were those only links to the state websites? We kind of feel that IHS and Joint Info does a great job at downloading, storing, and serving out the data. So what we've done is basically create live links to the state sites as opposed to downloading it and structuring it for you. I will say that those live links allow for downloads. You can download documents, production, logs. There's a lot of logs like LAS and rasters that you can download very quickly from this tool, but we don't batch download data and structure it and reserve it to you like IHS does. We feel like they've done a good job, so we just wanted to create that live connection.
All right, Sean, how long would it take to implement the Spotfire template we see in this demo in another organization? That's a good question. With the conduit, it is very, very quick because all the column names are the same, so we can quickly put the template right on top and get it up and running in about a day. If you are doing the exports yourself into your into spreadsheets or into your own system, then it's just a couple hours longer to kind of rematch and remap out those column names, but it could take anywhere from a day to 2 days total for the acquisition template. Yes, you can definitely interact with the Spotfire template. It'll be completely passed over to you. There are no limitations within your company on how many you get, so everyone can use the template. They can save their own versions of that template anywhere within your Spotfire library or on your Windows Explorer, and it's very interactive.
Next question, IHS data from Oklahoma does not include oil in a timely manner. Do you have an advanced connector to the Oklahoma State website for oil? The answer is no, we don't. The issue there is that Oklahoma doesn't collect oil at a very frequent rate. So that's the lag you're seeing. It's not necessarily IHS's pull the data or DIs for that matter. They do a very good job of connecting in once the data is available from the state. They just end up, not having the data available because every state basically acquires information at different rates on the month, on the 3 months, sometimes 6 or 12 months even, that they require operators to report production. Does Conduit capture Texas pending production data? It does. It's a good question. We don't know how people are going to use it yet, but we do capture the pending production, which is a great question. We're not sure how clients are going to use it yet, but we do capture it before they overwrite all that with the allocations. And when they overwrite with the allocations, you no longer get that from IHS, so we do capture it.
Last one.
Yeah, okay, last question. Any plans to deploy on Amazon Web Services to save money on storage and computing? We've got one Azure, Azure being the Microsoft version of Amazon. We've got one Azure instance running. It's the client's Azure environment, but and one more pending that we're going to be doing soon, we believe. We've got some experience with Azure. Seems to work fine. We haven't gone into the AWS yet, but I believe that that would work just fine. We don't offer a cloud solution that we manage and maintain yet, but that's something we would definitely consider discussing with you guys.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. On behalf of Blue River Analytics and Conduit Resources, we want to thank Jeter and Caerus Oil and Gas for the opportunity to serve. Thank you all so very much for your time and attention this morning. At Blue River Analytics, we make our customers smarter. A list of our production-ready templates are displayed here on the slide. In addition to our software, we provide Spotfire training, professional services, advanced data science support, and database management support. The Conduit and Acquisition template is sold as a bundle. If we can be of service regarding this presentation or anything else, please don't hesitate to contact us either directly, via email, or through our website. That concludes today's presentation. Thank you and have a pleasant afternoon.